So you go for the appeal and you speak with a medical doctor. You actually should ask for a doctor. So Joe Landolfi, when he's calling, that's the doctor I work with, he should ask for a neuro-oncologist or someone that's along his lines to give the appeal, which we just learned, and we didn't do that. So you might be getting a medical internist that's deciding the appeal. But what we had on this one problem was actually the insurance company. It was what was written in the insurance plan of the employer. So the employer regulated the wording of the insurance policy, which then in turn affected how the appeal went through. Does that make sense?
It does and it doesn't. But I guess that's, my perception is that insurance companies are looking to make a profit.
Correct.
So the less they pay, the more profitable they become. So is there another agency, a government agency, that looks over them saying, wait a minute, that's a wrong decision you're making?
No.
The answer is no.
No. But that's where we can fight it.
Now, I've been through second level appeal, and and these are people that are outside of Blue Cross and Blue Shield that had looked over my appeals. There's a chairperson, a medical director, consumer advocates, 2 operation managers, a utilization manager, network relations representative, and they're not supposed to be affiliated at all with the insurance company, with Verizon, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield. These are outside agencies.
Right.
What you could do to bring it third level, the appeal, is you would contact the Department of Banking and Insurance, and that's the last step that you can go to. And the last.
But what happened with ours was that it was actually how the plan was written for from the employer side of it, you know, what they allowed and didn't allow, and they didn't have whatever that option was, so the appeal meant nothing.
So you were appealing through the
We were appealing through, I think it was Horizon actually, and we did 3 appeals, and it went, and we just couldn't get it approved. And you know, it was very, very frustrating. But it ended up being that they, you know, it wasn't them, it was the wording, and that's the one thing I say here, make sure you know your plan, read the fine print, read what is coming back from your employer. They set limits. And you have to just know, you know, I don't even know what my plan is, because if I get covered at JFK, all my work is done. But when I go outside of JFK, I pay an out-of-pocket. My little girl just fell and cut her chin, and we ended up at Ocean. And you know, I'm wondering how much that's going to cost me, because it's an outside facility. It's not a JFK facility. And I do have second tier, so I just don't know how that's going to pan out. And I don't know the ins and outs, and I should. But we found some interesting things during our appeals. We had another person who had been on the drug for years and did great. We took her off, and 5 years later reoccurred, and they wouldn't let us put her back on Timidar. And that, we never thought we'd get a denial on that, because she was already on it. And it was because Timidar is approved for glioblastoma multiforme, and it's approved for refractory AA. It's not approved for oligodendrogliomas, anaplastic oligodendrogliomas. And it's not approved for that. However, in the neuro-oncology community, that's what they're giving, and that's what everybody's giving, and that's where they're seeing their results, but there's nothing documented, and it wasn't used for that. So that's what the bottom line came to, even though we went through 2 appeals on her, and then finally, after the second appeal, they approved it. And what I did was I went to Timidar reps and said, do you have any documentation? So they sent me documentation that, not that they are approving it for that use, but what studies have been done around the world with different types of tumors, and that's what we sent to the company. I've used that literature twice now and gotten approvals. But it always goes to the second appeal, and what my insurance person friend told me was that she has a brain tumor and she works for an insurance company. She told me that a lot of people don't appeal. A large percentage of people don't appeal because they said they won't cover it. So what happens is that kind of left's unfiltered. So after the first appeal, we were always getting approval. So we always appeal, and now we're down to second and third appeals, which we never had to do before. So I think that goes back to you and saying that they're trying to see how much money they can say and how far we're going to take the appeal. And when your doctor does the appeal, ask him to speak with someone that's at his level, a neuro-oncologist, or if you're seeing a medical oncologist, that, anyone that is at his level, and not just someone, not saying that an internal medicine doctor is not at the same level, but saying that they're not understanding why we're doing what we're doing. Most of the company assistant programs or pharmaceutical assistant programs will not give you drug until you show that you have proof of an appeal. So with the Tarceva, I had to show that we were in the second appeal process and send them the information of the appeal before they allowed us to move forward and get the drug, even application to go through. So you do need to start the appeal process. And make sure your diagnosis is written correctly. This is another problem that we're having, where Caremark and Accredo, and Accredo's not as bad, Caremark, Aetna, they now are breaking it down. So we used to get away with 191.9 malignant brain tumor. It would go through, Timidar would be approved, Avastin would be approved. Now they're actually sending us forms to fill out, more forms, with diagnosis. Is it an AA? Is it a glioblastoma? Is it an oligo? And so you can't lie, and your note has to support it. So, Landolfi will try to, you end up trying to work it out so that, it works for you, and we'll write malignant brain tumor, but, you have to put in the notes what type of tumor you have. So it's becoming scary. Like, and I go to him and say, okay, this patient, the patient that was denied with the Timidar, I said, she doesn't have an AA or a GBM, and how are we going to get her Timidar approved? Like, I knew it because their process has changed since she last time had Timidar.